Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Friday, and I wanted to start off with my early call snowfall forecast map for late Sunday into Monday. And this is the map that I did Thursday afternoon based on the Thursday guidance. And from what I've seen overnight so far, I'm not going to change anything for the time being. I'm forecasting for areas an inch or so for Long Island, for Suffolk County and southern Nassau County, and also less than an inch or even just a coating across central and South Jersey, south of Route 195, southeastern Pennsylvania, around the Philadelphia area, and as you get toward the border. And then you can see that the amounts start to go up. I went for a 1 to 3 inch band across you look at a little further north in southeastern Pennsylvania into north central and northeastern New Jersey, New York City, southern Westchester County, south of White Plains, so basically south of Route 287 if you live in this area. And then we get into the 2 to 4 inch band as you go further northwest into northwest New Jersey and further north into the Hudson Valley and in southern Connecticut. And then once you get north of Route 84, I have a band of 3 to 6 inches there, and go further north of Poughkeepsie, and I'm forecasting 6 inches or more. I want to show you the new model snow forecast maps first. And the first thing I want to show you is the GFS, because it actually was a little bit more robust than the prior run, just by a little, but it was there. And when we look at the new run, because it was a little bit colder and just a little bit weaker with the low that's coming out and a shade further south, so it actually has my maps the map that I drew actually to me shows less than what the GFS model has, and so that kind of makes me feel good that I'm going below what the GFS model is doing, because now stripes out some 5 inch amounts in parts of northwest New Jersey and in parts of the Hudson Valley, and then of course you get into the higher amounts as you get further north into the Catskills, but it still has a band of 3 or 4 inches down in Pennsylvania, down into you're still in northern New Jersey here, the Hudson Valley, and generally 2 to 4 inches across most of Connecticut. Looks like a coating to an inch for parts of Long Island, and then it gets up a little higher as you go toward New York City, that band of 1 to 3 inches. So I'm feeling pretty good about this, and I'll switch to the Canadian model, which continues to be more robust because, again, it continues to show a weaker system and colder air being more important. So the Canadian tonight actually has 4 to 6 inch amounts back to New York City and into southern areas of the Hudson Valley. It has a little bit more of an even distribution with the precipitation because it has a weaker system, and you start to get it actually just has most of the higher amounts concentrated where the low center tracks, where the primary low center tracks. It's right about here where it has these amounts totaling 8 to 14 inches. I mean, I don't know how realistic that is. And then, lesser amounts as you get up into upstate New York and New England, but still, it's a decent snowfall of 3 to 6 inches. And it doesn't even compare to the lake effect that they get in some areas up there anyway. So let me show you what's going on. We'll widen out a little bit, and we'll put the surface map up here. Let me just get it to where I can get to the menu, and we'll get the surface map up with the precipitation. So we'll start with, we'll show you the Canadian model first, and let me back it up so we can get to the beginning. And of course, we've got this cold shot now that's with us into the weekend, and then we move into Sunday evening, and you have a low center south, looks like it's south of Kansas City. There's a warm front that runs right through. Let's draw it in for you. So we have a bit of a warm front, like right about like this, okay? And we'll add the cold front here, and there's cold air the core of the cold air is now moved off the main. It's well off the coast, the New England coast. You kind of want the high center back up here like this, and forcing the cold air southwestward back into Pennsylvania to have really a good entrenched cold air mass. This is not a good setup to hold cold air in. However, I've seen a lot worse, and it does. The Canadian does have a fairly wide area of snow that it begins to develop ahead of that warm front, and then what it does from there is that it has the weaker low than what the GFS has. So you can see it. Let me just back it up. So here we are for Sunday. This is Sunday evening, and then this is at 1 a.m. So it's still now it's snowing through all of southern New England, Long Island, New Jersey. Actually, it has it snowing all the way down into Delaware, which is a shock to me. And the low moves east-northeast into right along the border of Missouri, Iowa, and Illinois. So you've got this trailing warm front that is. Whoops, let me just get that there. And we got this trailing warm front that's still pretty far to the south. It really didn't change that much from the prior run, which kind of surprised me. And there's your cold front there. And then it moves it along. Let me just go to back to that page. It keeps doing this on me. Sorry about that. Okay, so then from there, it moves the low to near Chicago. And this is Monday morning, and it still has it all snow across much of New Jersey, Long Island, southern New England, Pennsylvania, New York State. The warm front is pinned down still to our south, and it's not until about 1 in the afternoon that it has it all rain in the southern areas. And again, a weaker low, so the precip area actually kind of breaks up a little bit in New England, in upstate New York for some reason. And then by late afternoon, Tuesday night, it's gone and then done. And after that, it has the Arctic front that's going to be coming through, and it makes a wave on that Arctic front that it actually has it further south than the prior run, which was kind of surprising to me. And this, well, let me get a good color here. It should be blue. There you go. So there's your cold front, and you have a wave in West Virginia, but there's a second low. I'm not picking my colors right tonight. There's a second low that forms off North Carolina on, a bit of a warm front there. And from here, it takes that wave east-northeastward. So this would kind of argue that enough cold air could get in eventually and change this all to snow. I'm not sure if I'm really, agreeing with the way this model has come out with this. I think the GFS might make a little more sense from that respect with the next thing. But let's take a look. Let's show you how the GFS handles this system. It takes the low pretty much not about in the same spot. It's not as deep as what it was on the prior run, so that's important. It still tries to take a low east of Chicago and then up east of Lake Huron, but it does seem to want to generate that burst of snow that occurs just ahead of the warm front, and it's very, very fast. So the GFS would argue that what snows it shows will fall very quickly Sunday night, and then by Monday morning it's changed to rain all the way up into the Hudson Valley, up to even further north in Poughkeepsie, with some patches of freezing precipitation. It's changed all over to rain in Connecticut here, and that's because it does still try to wrap that low up, although again it's less deep than what it was on the prior run. Let me show you the prior run of the model. And you can see that it's a 995 low here on the prior run, a much more wrapped up low. Now it's 1,000 millibars, so it's 5 millibars less deep. So that's important if that trend continues, that we may wind up going back to what we had yesterday, which was the flatter look into northern Ohio, which would prolong the frozen precipitation. I'm not betting on that. And then with the Arctic front, which you start to pick it out, it's right in through this area here. You start to get some wave development that occurs. So your Arctic front is kind of like this. Here's your Arctic front here, so you're going to get some kind of a wave that develops on it. It's a little colder after the first system goes by, but not especially cold. And then you have a low that deforms in West Virginia. You have the second low that starts out, that it has starting out down off the Carolina coast, and it spreads snow across all of Ohio, Indiana, up into the northern western third of Pennsylvania, and into New York State. And then that low moves off the New Jersey coast and begins to intensify as it moves northeastward from here, and you can see it throughout much of interior Pennsylvania, upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, back through Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky. It has snow, and it even has some freezing precipitation back in western Tennessee. And from here, that low moves out east off the New England coast. And it's after that, it's this low that really brings in all the very cold air into the Northeast for the remainder of the week. And then beyond that, just to show you, because I have this firm policy, by the way, of dealing with one storm at a time, but I want to show you what's happening. It brings out a major low out in the west and actually creates a bit of an ice storm for the Appalachian Mountains all the way down into Georgia and Alabama, western North Carolina, down through West Virginia. And you can see it really kind of revs up when it moves into Virginia and Pennsylvania with some snow at the start. This would be next weekend. But you know what? Let's first things first. So let's go to the upper air. Oh, and by the way, I know that I've kind of messed up a couple of times the last few days with the months, meaning to say December, and I said February, and meaning to say December, and I said January. I'm getting tired. Okay, is really what it boils down to. But let's look at the upper air on the GFS, and let's back it up. There's that vortex, by the way, so you can take a look and see what happens here. This is what just went through now. Here's our system for Sunday night, Monday, and you can see on this upper air chart, that system is a little more defined, and that's where the models may or may not be correct. It's been trying to amplify this system when the last number of weeks with weather systems, these disturbances have failed to amplify. So you have to ask yourself whether there's a reason why it should amplify this time around. I don't know, but there's your cold flow out of Canada. We've got this big vortex here. You still have that flow out of the Pacific. You've got this ridging that's going on back over in Alaska, and that's keeping that cold air flow locked in. And then the vortex swings eastward. Again, the GFS seems to be much more aggressive and much further south with that. That's why it brings the core of the cold air into the northeast. And then as that pulls out, you start to get troughing out in the west. And this is why it generates that ice storm situation as we go into next weekend. And beyond that, you've got all kinds of things going on. So, this is going to be, as I've been saying the last couple of days, very dynamic pattern. In fact, this is out on day 16. You've got an establishment of a really cold flow here. I mean, you have a ridge that builds up in the west, if that's correct, and that's a really cold flow of air that moves down straight from the North Pole into Western Canada and the United States. Let me take a look and see if the temperature profiles are in with this, because I'm actually looking at it for the first time with you. Okay, so let's see what it's doing with the temperature anomalies. Okay, we do have it going out forward, so there's that cold air going into later next week, how it spreads out across much of the United States except the Southwest. And as we get later in the period with that trough in the west, most of the cold is in the west. You get a little bit of cold in the northeast, and by the end of the period, every place, we have a large area of below normal temperatures here across much of the U.S. except for the immediate East Coast, because there's probably some kind of Arctic front that's getting ready to move on through. Some warmer air is replacing the cold air up in Western Canada. That's because of that big ridge building down. So we're going to see how the cold flow winds up evolving over time as we go into the future. So check out the latest posts on the website, meteorologistjoechaffee.com. If you want local forecasts for New York, New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, Southeastern New York, Connecticut, and Long Island, you can download my app. It's free, and you can subscribe to the forecasts on there for just 99 cents a month. And by the way, if you're downloading it from other parts of the country, there are other forecasters that are on that app that cover your own individual area. So you might want to check that out. And SS Storm Chasers for all the storm chasing that's going to be going on with all this weather that we're going to be having over the next couple of weeks.